Shean Strong, your 2019 Mayesh Design Star, and today we're going to be doing an indoor meadow. Now there's going to be a couple tools that you guys are going to need, one of them being zip ties, one of them being your clippers. We have some Oasis, and we're also going to be using chicken wire. Now we're going to walk through this step by step, and I'm going to show you guys how to build an indoor meadow. And this is going to be something you guys can translate into something later on, whether it be outdoor, indoor, around some chairs, other pieces of furniture. I think it's going to create a really cool visual effect for your photographers, for your brides, and for you guys to be happy with. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We have some beautiful product from Mayesh over here. So we're going to get this going, and yeah, I'll show you guys the step-by-step instructions. All right, you guys, so I went ahead and just created our foundation for the meadow. Now, I just used a rectangular plate to catch all the water anytime you put a stem in the Oasis. We want to make sure that we have a plate underneath the Oasis because we don't want to leave a giant mess all over hardwoods or in the venue. If you're doing this outside, you can definitely get some plastic and just kind of cover underneath it, but I don't think that's going to be a big problem you guys are going to have to worry about. Now, the reason why you want to have this chicken wire over your Oasis is because you want to make sure that there's extra security. When you put your flower stems in, you don't want these things to fall over. And the last thing you want is for this to make a giant mess for your wedding day or for your event. So we're going to cover this in chicken wire, put our stems in, and it's going to create extra security for our design. Now, this is going to be placed right down at the base over here, and we're going to have one over here. Again, we want to have something that's going to be a little asymmetrical, like a lot of my designs that I do. I want this to kind of have this cascading effect, again, for the eye to follow. That seems to be a common occurrence in what we're doing. And as you can see, it just creates that really natural effect with the designs that you guys are going to be creating. So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We have some beautiful flowers, again, courtesy of Mayesh. And I'm going to go ahead and place this down and get started with you guys. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our lower portion of our meadow. Now, the cool thing about having this is you can kind of have this growing up all over the place and having a kind of a big impact. Now, this is wonderful, like I said, for chairs. It's great for settees, maybe just a wedding couple having something like, pretty intimate for them. So having this little moment is going to make their seat feel extra special. Now, I like to take our green and just start building out. Now, I know a lot of the times people get concerned that the mechanics are going to be seen, but what we're going to do is we're going to cover this in moss, so it's going to look even more natural by having that underneath our base. So we're just breaking pieces of our green off to kind of build the structure. Again, building that shape before we start adding anything else in there. We want to make sure that there's going to be lots and lots of greenery, because again, it's a meadow. We want to make sure that things are going to be looking as natural as possible. So we start building up, we're going to build out, and we're just going to fill this up to where it creates a really, really pretty moment for our couple. We can already see how that's looking really, really good. These colors over here, I think, are going to be stunning when we start adding in some peonies. We start adding in some of these more deeper kind of rich colors. We start adding our grasses. It's going to look really natural, really lovely, and I think that anyone's going to thoroughly enjoy this. All right, we're going to start greening this out, and we're going to get going. All right, so now that we have this greened out, we're going to start adding in some flowers, some grasses, and really kind of give this thing some life over here. Now, I like being able to put our greenery in and having it go in different directions. When you look at a meadow in nature, flowers are growing all over the place. Typically things aren't growing down, they're growing up, they're growing towards you, they're growing away from you. So by creating lots of depth and movement in here, you're really gonna have that natural kind of a feel to your design. Now, when we start adding in the grasses, we start adding in some of these berries, we start adding in some other components, it's gonna really feel even more natural. Again, the whole point of what we're trying to do is just bring nature inside. That's what we're doing with this indoor meadow. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start adding in some flowers over here, and then we can start working on the back part as well. We're gonna see how this is all gonna transition beautifully. And when we have like our couple sitting on this couch, whether it be in a lounge or whether it be in their venue somewhere, it's gonna look absolutely beautiful. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and start adding in our flowers. Now, I usually start with the larger flowers, and this time we're gonna go ahead and start with these beautiful, deep colored peonies. And again, we want things kind of growing out in multiple different directions, kind of keeping things in groups together. That way they're gonna look as if they're growing naturally. And there's almost like a moment of peonies here and a little moment over here, something over there. That way they're gonna be growing together. Again, working in multiples of 3 and creating a really nice staggering effect. Not having things directly facing you, but kind of angled out. When things look directly at you, it's just kind of a little jarring for the eye. So when you have things kind of facing out other directions, it's gonna really soften the actual arrangement or installation. Again, we're just kind of building these things up. It's nice to just step away and kind of look at the arrangement as a whole, as opposed to us just kind of looking at it from one angle. We want to move away from it, see it from multiple different angles, and make sure that everything looks beautiful. So again, I'm going to step away in just 1 second, and I'm going to start just looking to make sure that everything that I'm doing is what I like. Beginning to like what's happening. Now I want to have a little bit of negative space because I'm going to be building in some other flowers in this arrangement. Now we're going to be doing the same exact thing on the opposite side as well. Again, it's all about having that line from one direction to the other. That's going to be really kind of, the staple whenever you're designing in this kind of natural, organic kind of design style. Keeping things a little lower, tucking things down. Now we're also going to add in these Gerbers. These are super cool because they have a really nice texture to them, and they're not your typical flower that you would see at an event. Typically people stay away from Gerbers or carnations, but they really do give a great texture. And I think these are going to look really, really cool with the color of the couch against the reds that we're going to be using and also the foliage. So we're going to add a couple of these in as well. Because I want these peonies to be kind of the highlight, I'm going to tuck these in down pretty deep. I want to make sure that these are going to be accentuating the more luxurious flowers. Again, kind of keeping them in groups, but also underneath the more expensive ones. I like to keep flowers in groups, but I also want to be able to highlight certain flowers as well. So having this white against that red is going to really create a contrast. So it's going to really accentuate these other flowers. When we're designing with our indoor meadow, we want to make sure that we add grasses, obviously, because that's what a meadow really consists of. So we can add in some tall grasses like this. Explosion grass is a great grass to be using, and this is just going to kind of accentuate the design that we're doing. Again, you guys know I like using these in my arrangements, so why not use them in my installations as well? It's just going to create a whimsical kind of feel when you start adding in lots of them. And you guys can get kind of fun with this. You can use Pampas grass, you can use explosion grass, you can use all types of things to kind of create this. We have another really cool texture right here that we're going to incorporate. Now, usually I would add this in first, but because I want to see the design and the shape that we're going to be using, I'm going to actually use this to kind of frame the actual flowers that we're going to be using. So we're going to kind of tuck this in, and then we're going to start building into it and kind of separating it out around the flowers that we're going to be using. I want this to look, again, pretty natural, as if it's just been growing for a while. I think by adding this in as a last minute touch is really going to kind of help that design. It's going to soften these edges, which is what we really want to do as well. We also want to make sure that we are using these grasses that are going to be complementing the colors of the palette that we're working in. All right, so we're going to add a couple more of these in, kind of shift things around a little bit, play around with the grass to make sure that we're going to have exactly what we're looking for. Again, keep in mind this is going to also be complementing over here as well. So we're going to have this really nice, pretty line for your eye to follow. Now, grasses are great because they add any type of great texture to any of your bouquets, your centerpieces, or installations. So tucking these in pretty deep is also going to give the same effect as if they were kind of out here as well, because again, you're having to peer through it to see the actual flowers. Don't be afraid to look at your arrangement or your bouquet or your installation at different angles, because designing it like this for you guys is rather difficult. I need to step in front of it to make sure I'm liking what I'm seeing. So give me just 1 second, I'll look at it. I'm liking the way that's looking. I'm seeing that I can add a little bit more red down here, maybe some more grass over here as well, just to kind of make sure that the eye is following a beautiful line. Now don't worry about these mechanics down here, because we're gonna make sure that that's covered with some moss in just a second. That's gonna be our last and final touch. Now we also have another cool texture to add in. This is gonna add some height to your installation. Just having a little wispy moment up here. Again, drawing that eye down. Just gonna kind of pair these in threes. Again, we don't want things to be like in twos, because we don't want them to be like eyeballs looking at you. We wanna make sure that we're kind of grouping things in an odd number. For some reason, it's just pleasing on the mind. If you guys know the reason why, let me know. I would love to know why odds just look better than just two. All right, well, there we go. So I'm gonna step away, look at this, and then we're gonna start on the other side. I might zhuzh it up just a little bit, but just make sure that everything's gonna be beautiful for our client and for you guys. All right, so now when it comes to working with a meadow, you wanna make sure that, again, there's lots and lots of texture taking place. So having things up high, having things down low, having things come towards you, it's really gonna help accentuate all the other flowers in the actual installation. So even just this little moment right up there, I think it's so lovely, adds a fun texture. And it has that real, true garden kind of feel. I think any of your clients would thoroughly love being able to get their photos in front of this, having this as a special seat for the two of them during the reception, or something that you guys can just do for family photos. You know, you guys can do this at home. Don't be afraid to go out in your backyard and forage something that you find to be beautiful. Take that out, cut it, put it in some fresh water, see how it holds up, and you're able to play around and design something for you and your loved ones. So there we go. These just add a nice, cool touch. These just add a really interesting texture and touch to your arrangement. Again, we wanna make sure things are coming out towards you. We wanna make sure things are going up, they are coming out. Now, the last and final touch that we're gonna have is going to be moss. That's gonna help cover up all of your mechanics down there. That's just gonna really help kind of finish the actual arrangement on this section. So we just take some sheet moss and we're just gonna literally tuck it in as if it's cascading out of this plate. Now, don't be afraid to have this kind of growing out some. Moss grows naturally like on the ground like this, so you can have some kind of to play around with. Be sure to sweep up all these little droppings over here because it's gonna give you a more clean, streamlined look. But make sure that this is kind of growing in a way that is gonna look very natural. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up this little section over here, and then I'm gonna start working on that other side to create that beautiful asymmetrical look. All right, so now that we have our meadow down over here on this side, we're gonna build something up on this side. Now it's essentially gonna be the same exact process. All we're gonna be doing is just adding some taller elements over here as opposed to having these kind of shorter little elements on this side. Now we wanna make sure that this is gonna be complementary to this, so we're gonna be using the same type of material. We're gonna be using the same grasses, we're gonna still be using the same flowers, but it's probably gonna be growing out this direction behind. That way if this is sitting kind of in an open space, you'll be able to have the same exact thing on an opposite direction, but we'll also have some height going up over here as well. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started, and I'll show you guys the finished product in just a second. All right, you guys, so with fuzzies like all in my hair and on my clothes, this is our final product. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this tutorial. This is our indoor meadow. Again, I wanted to create something high over here and have the eye follow this beautiful line all the way down over here. Now this section right here is actually mirrored behind on this side as well. So no matter which angle you guys are getting some photographs for your clients, it's gonna be absolutely beautiful. Now send me your photos. I'd love to see this stuff on Instagram. I'd love to be able to see what you guys are designing with, the color palettes you guys are working with. Send them over to me at Shean Strong. Thank you, Mayesh, for all this beautiful product. I'm so very excited to be working with each and every one of you guys. Now go ahead and check out when we have a workshop close to you guys. We had one in January and it was absolutely incredible. I had such a great time and I cannot wait to meet each and every one of you guys throughout this rest of this year. All right, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Mayesh. Looking forward to designing for you guys again. All right, see you guys later on.